And that's the Swiss out of commission. We have the entirety, well, the bits of continental Europe that matter under our control. Let's go to our decisions. Let's have a look here. There we go. Revive the Holy Roman Empire. All that territory that we just conquered will become core German territory. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Holy Roman Empire. But before we get to the video, I want to take a minute and say thank you. Thank you to all of you who have subscribed to the channel so far. We've hit 1,000 subscribers recently, and I am truly humbled by the support you've shown me over these few months already. So I'd like to ask all of you to continue hitting me up in those comments. You've given me great ideas in the past, so keep recommending achievements, country guides, and other challenges, and I'll keep trying to put out quality content for you guys. And if you like these videos, consider subscribing for more of them, and remember to hit that bell icon to be notified whenever I put out more content. Now, on to the video! Hey folks, Bitter Steel here, back with another video for Hearts of Iron 4. Now today we're gonna try something else, not a straight up achievement or country guide. In fact, we're going to be trying a bit of a challenge really. As the Germans, yes, the mustache man, we are going to try and reform the Holy Roman Empire, which means first reviving the Kaiserreich and then having a horrible accident happen to the Imperial family. Just leave it on Iron Man, historical AI on, and hop in. Now as for our initial setup, just take the army here, see what we have. 24 infantry divisions and 6 others. These can all be light tanks. Yes, let's take the army and put them on the French border. French are the biggest threat. The tanks are going to prepare a naval invasion from Hamburg into Dunkirk and Calais. Let's assign some generals. Let's assign these a field marshal. I don't want to use any of these field marshals. I'd rather use Guderian because of the brilliant strategist trait. So I'll have to wait until I can promote him. Other than that, let's take the entire Air Force and put them in this airfield in Niederschlesien. They will serve their purpose. Next up, the Navy, under command of Erich Raeder and Karl Dönitz. Group this one up. I want to have a big chunky boy. Can exercise as well. Construction. Let's start out with a few more military factories in our high infrastructure provinces. Anything else? 80% done? No. Yes. So 8 to start off with, and then we're going to go into the civilian and infrastructure. I like putting infrastructure here because of the amount of resources in the Rhineland, and then follow that up with some civies. Civies are always good. Production-wise, we need a lot of guns, we need some more support equipment. Don't need that much artillery. I don't think we'll be using 7-2 infantry. I think we'll go straight up with 10-0 pure infantry blocks. Won't need tactical bombers just yet, and the rest can go into tanks. Research. Artillery benefits both our tank and infantry divisions, and the rest is standard really. Just the basic electronic engineering and industry focused builds. Nothing fancy here. As for our focuses, we're not gonna start out with oppose Hitler. I want to postpone this until after I've taken care of France and its little entente. I'm gonna go with naval rearmament first, because it's only 35 days, and because the Navy does play a little part in this. Speaking of the Navy, let's sort that out. Get rid of these subs, they're outdated, won't be needing them. We can finish off the ones that are in production for these destroyers. We can finish off this Panzerschiff. We can finish off these at later points, like the battleships, the Scharnhorst, Admiral Hipper, and the... where is it? Gneisenau, but the rest, our main focus should be the destroyers after we finish the Deutschland. Focus on the destroyers after. So the 3 runs of 1936 destroyers, we'll finish the first 2 with just 1 ship in them, and then infinitely repeat the last run and keep dumping that into our fleet. With that done, let's see, decisions, nothing relevant here. Let's turn all this off, it's just a nuisance. Production has been sorted now, very well. So all that's left now is to set speed to max and let the good times roll. Before you let the good times roll, however, let's train a few of these cavalry divisions. We'll need some more troops. Let's see, 24. I'll do 2 runs of them on a high priority. somewhere near Czechoslovakia. These very shitty cavalry brigades will serve only one purpose, and that is to be a meat shield to guard our border against Czechoslovak troops, while the actual fighting will be done by the tanks. So just whenever you can deploy one of these or several of these, just keep force deploying them out. They don't have to be trained, they just have to stand there and take any eventual Czechoslovak assaults.
A few moments later.
And with naval rearmament done, we also end up having 50 political power. 50 political power is exactly enough to justify a war goal on Yugoslavia. Now, why Yugoslavia? Simple. Yugoslavia is part of France's little entente, if you will, which is a network of guarantees between Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia and France. There's also a bit of Romania involved, but by declaring war on Yugoslavia, Romania does not get involved. This way, with a declaration of war on Yugoslavia, we draw in both Czechoslovakia and France, and we'll be able to defeat them piecemeal, while at the same time Yugoslavia is completely isolated and we don't even have to worry about them. Their war, or our war with them, will become irrelevant eventually anyway. Now, with the naval rearmament done, let's look into the army, get army innovations. This will get us 10 experience, meaning we can change our tank template to have a little more org, and get some nice bonuses for land doctrines.
12 seconds later.
So we've finished one of these cavalry armies. Just assign whichever general you like. I'm fairly sure Rommel doesn't go anywhere, so he can command some of these divisions, and just line them up on the Czechoslovak border here, and we can set them to exercising so they don't go in this as green, which does give a fairly nasty penalty. Now again, for research, there's nothing fancy to it for this guide, or this video rather. There's the basic concept of keeping up to date with electronic engineering and industry techs, and then putting all your extra effort towards what branch of the army you need help with right now, such as, do I need better tanks? Or can I get better tanks because I have a research bonus? Then you go for the tanks. Do I need more equipment, or do I need better infantry equipment because I am at war or going to war? Then you look at the infantry equipment. Same for the doctrines, really. Just follow what your focus bonuses give you and what you need right now. Once these finish, also assign them to this last army, and that should have recruitment finished. Now you can see we still need a field marshal. We should have enough command power now. Yes, we do. Let's promote Guderian. Guderian can lead our armies. Once enough command power is garnered or gathered or collected or whatever, get him aggressive assaulter, offensive doctrine, and either charismatic or organization first. I prefer organization first. Just give him these good field marshal traits. With army innovations done, we'll head for treaty with the USSR, giving us a 2 years ahead of time bonus for medium tanks, meaning we can start making medium tanks very early, if the Soviets agree, and this being historical, they will agree. Speaking of that focus takes about 70 days. If you have any research slots like construction 1 here, that finishes in 60 days. Don't immediately assign it a new task, just wait a little bit until the focus finishes and then research medium armor on that one. You won't waste any research and you'll have a fast track to better tanks. Better tanks are just, for Germany, they're amazing. Now you'll see I have these 6 tanks assigned to a naval invasion. Why do I do this? Simple, to prepare the naval invasion. I can now abandon this order, and as long as I don't delete it, it will still have its preparation done, meaning I can reassign these tanks and immediately send them off on their quest to invade France. France usually does not garrison these isles, or at least this port, and even if it does, it's very lightly manned and our tanks will easily be able to take it and push towards Paris. And with this bit of France taken, that should be enough for their capitulation. But France is the secondary target. Primary target will be Czechoslovakia, and for that we'll assign our tanks here. Without destroying or deleting the naval invasion order, set a small frontline order here in this southern tip, give them spearhead towards the opposite side of the country, and we will simply be cutting the Czechoslovaks in half. Now, the Czechoslovak army looks very large, and it is sizable, and that combined with their fort line makes them a tough nut to crack if you're going through their fort line. This tile here, this single tile, does not have a fort on it, so our tanks can push through it and immediately cut Czechoslovakia in half and drive up towards Prague, Plzeň and Tabor straight like a dagger through their underbelly. So that's how we are going to take out the Czechs. Also, having cut the country in half, we're going to use some of this cavalry to push south and take these victory points, meaning the Czechs will capitulate rather quickly with minimal casualties on our side. Just remember not to delete this naval invasion order.
A few inches later.
Now for your industry, I prefer dispersed industry, straight up. Now with our first investment for political power, other than justifications for war, we can get Franz Halder, the army offense expert. Now, before I forget, you'll see here, we have 10 army experience from our focus. Let's go into our division designer, take the Panzer division, and we're just going to slap on 2 more motorized infantry to increase the organization somewhat to more acceptable levels, making these tanks a little stronger. You can see the combat width isn't great, but this early in the game, they're still going to be excellent. And, well, we have to work with what we have right now. Now, our treaty with the USSR finishes in 8 days. We have a spare research slot, so let's keep this open until we can get those fancy tanks. Right, I forgot about the Air Force here. We can get rid of these navals, we can get rid of these transports. Won't be needing them just yet. Let's up these to more respectable numbers. Set these to training. I know these are being replenished. These are not. I'll just let them here on standby. Yeah, that'll do. Treaty with the USSR done. Can go to the 4-year plan or something else. No, let's get air innovations first. A little bit of air experience, some better air bases, and research bonuses for the Air Force doctrines. Air Force is pretty big in this game, so I like having a good Air Force. There we go. Because this is historical, the Soviets will accept, giving us a nice bonus. Let's go to research, the armor. There we go. 2 years ahead of time, we can get ourselves some Panzer IIIs very quickly. Now these cavalry divisions don't need to be trained up all the way to regulars. Once they're trained, that's enough to remove that horrible combat penalty, and you can stop training to conserve some infantry equipment, because they will still need to be reinforced somewhat. Air innovations done. Let's turn to the 4-year plan and get to work on the industry. So what the 4-year plan does is give us 2 research bonuses for industry, 100%. So what we want is to be researching, let's see, this one's almost done and this one's almost done, to be researching improved machine tools 1937, as well as dispersed 2, so dispersed 2 and improved machine tools, so that by the time the focus finishes, the bonus will apply to the 1939 tech, so we can get these boys a little bit ahead of time. And to that end, let's get to work on the machine tools, even if it's a little bit ahead of time. For our next political power investment, we could go for the infantry expert. He's not bad, but armor will be what wins us these early wars, so I'm going to go with Erwin Rommel, the armor genius. I think 53 naval experience is enough, so I'm going to stop the navy from exercising to conserve some fuel. Fuel is a premium for Germany.
2 hours later.
And with that, we have finished our justification for the conquest of Slovenia. What's left now is to declare war on the Yugoslavs, and let's defeat these boys in short order. To do so, let's take the speed all the way down. France is going to come to the rescue soon, but we have our boys on the Maginot, and the Yugoslavs can't even reach us because, well, Austria is in the way, so they're also not really a concern of ours. There we go, the Czechs are in. What we're gonna do is take these tanky boys. But first, let's finish giving this lad some doctrines. So, how are we going to destroy Czechoslovakia then? Well, we're gonna take these 6th armored divisions and start pushing, and keep pushing until we have cut Czechoslovakia in half. That will be our first order of business. Also, don't forget to support them with your air force. Air superiority is very important as it influences both the battle and the speed at which units can move. Now, if you would still have a navy out here exercising, this is the point where you want to pull them back to port. You don't want your navy to be caught out by the French navy. We are saving our navy for our mad dash across the English Channel for our naval invasion, so it would be a shame to waste them beforehand. The French navy is significantly more powerful than ours at this point, so let's just conserve ours until we're ready. Prague has fallen. What does that grant us? Yes, that does it. Czechs should be capitulating now. There we go. Czechoslovakia has capitulated and just take all of their stuff. Let's pause the game a little. Take the armor and assign them back to the naval invasion. Then we'll take all of the horse boys and plop them on the Maginot. And when the horse lads arrive, we're going to take this experienced infantry and send them close to a port to reinforce the armor should it be needed. Also take the air wings. See, these guys can go here, these guys can go here, and the fighters to the Maginot. Okay, so these horse divisions are arriving in. France shouldn't be counterattacking anything. I'm just gonna move the infantry to their fallback line near the port. They'll be the reserves for when the tanks get trouble. Medium ones are done. Doctrines, yes. Now, seeing as we have quite a few light tanks already, let's dial down our light tank production to 2 and instead start building a bunch of medium tanks. Like a whole bunch of medium tanks.
Eventually.
Alright, so the armor is ready for its naval invasion. We can set this to active. I'm gonna look towards the Navy. Convoy escort in the Western North Sea and the Channel. The subs can do the same. Let's reinforce that with some bombers over the Channel. And these, what are these? The Stukas, the close air support over the Western North Sea, or rather Eastern North Sea, I'm sorry, to help us achieve that naval superiority needed to launch the invasion. Let's hope. Yes, there we go. We have naval superiority, the naval invasion is off to a good start. We can immediately reassign these planes to northern France and start bombing the shit out of everything. Assign fighters as well. Reassign these boys to northern France as well. You just need them there to get the air superiority, or rather naval superiority, so your naval invasion will fire. After that, that's irrelevant. Also do the Navy now. Select these guys and set them to naval invasion escorts. Four-year plan's done. I don't expect this French war to really take another 70 days. So instead I'm gonna take the naval effort here. It only takes 35 days. And modify the government. Captain of industry, always a good idea. And with our 6 tanks landed virtually unopposed, we can just push straight for Paris and the northern victory points. Now what usually happens is the French have 1 division in the port of Dunkirk. So they will be assaulted by 3 of your tanks trying to make a naval invasion, while the 3 tanks landing in Calais will have free reign. What you do then is simply cut around towards Lille. So you surround Dunkirk and then use the tanks that landed unopposed to push into Dunkirk. That should make short work of whatever weak garrison they've left. And we've pushed to Paris, virtually unopposed. Paris is taken. Let's see if that was enough. It's close though. It's close. Once Rouen and Le Havre fall, that'll be it. I think Rouen itself will just be enough already. Blip. All of Paris. Victory for the Fatherland. Reims. Sedan. Yeah, they should be capitulating now. There we go, the French are out of this war. Now, this is a bit where we have to be very attentive of our world tension. We want to generate just enough to get to 40%, so that Austria will be willing to join us, but we don't want to generate too much, because that will reduce England's opinion of us, and we need 100% opinion to take the last decision to get Queen Victoria, or rather Empress Victoria. So we're gonna walk a tightrope here to try and get around 40%. Maybe a little less, a little more, somewhere in that area. First things first, let's take all of mainland France. They couldn't hold on to it, they don't deserve it. while we're here. Corsica as well. Resource-rich North Africa. We'll take that as well. We'll take Vietnam. Yes, this island here, Noumea, New Caledonia, with its very large amount of, I think it's tungsten? No, it's not tungsten, is it? That other metal ball thing. Let's end the turn, see where we end up. 58. Bit much. We can still reduce this by liberating countries, though. Have a look around, see if there's areas you'd like. These guys have rubber. I like rubber. Now we can just start liberating some countries, and you can see our world tension is going down as we liberate more and more of these.
6 hours later.
Liberate this list of countries and just take all the rest. That should get you right where you need to be. If it doesn't, just fiddle around with liberating some territories, taking other territories. If you're taking territory, take the resource-rich stuff and just give away the rest. And with that, we have concluded our war with the French and the Czechoslovaks. You notice we're still at war with Yugoslavia, but well, they can't even get to us, so why should we even bother with that war? What we're going to do now is, 5 days in. Won't even need to finish the naval effort here. Instead, let's cancel it and start opposing Hitler. We're going to oppose Hitler, and to do that, we're going to disband our entire military. Everyone, including the Air Force. All of it has to go. And what we're going to do now is let this focus run until day 68, and I'll be right back. And we're back with Oppose Hitler on day 68. Let's apply a little bit more cheese to this shit sandwich, shall we? To do that, we are going to go to Spain. Who's this guy? Oh, Primo de Rivera. It's the first time I see him. Start a lend-lease and just give everything we have. Every last bit of equipment, every tank, every plane, every gun. And to do that, I've set my lend-lease to give them once, and I've tapped in a ridiculously high number. This is the highest number the game will actually allow. See what it is. This doesn't really matter. You don't have this much equipment. And just send them to Spain. Now all of that equipment is going to be, I presume, boxed up and put in storage somewhere, meaning that when the Civil War fires, neither side has it. Nobody knows where it went, and since there's no stockpile to split up, nobody gets any guns, and the only thing both sides will get is the event spawn troops. But there's a catch, and you'll see that catch in about 2 days. There we go. Purge the Nazi scum. Now for our cheese. Let's have a little chat with the Spanish, because, well, I think we've changed our mind about that lend-lease. We're just gonna click clear all and just cancel the whole deal. Now all of that equipment is now gonna come straight back to us, and by us I mean glorious mustache man with giant head, August von Mackensen, and not puny's mustache tiny hat man, Mr. H. So in preparation of all that stuff coming back, let's train about 6 or 7 of these just once, high priority. Let's get them out as quickly as we can. Assign all these troops to one army. Kesselring, you'll have your time to shine now. Now, another benefit of our early conquests is not only do we have a lot more industry than the nationalists or the fascists, they have another border to contend with. As you'll see in a second, the moment I unpause, many of these divisions here are going to be pulled off the front line facing me and are going to start gobbling up Czechoslovak lands. Those are undefended, which looks bad, but is actually very beneficial. You see, both sides now have 24 divisions. That's about just enough to fill this front line. When they start pulling troops off, they'll start leaving giant gaps. Giant gaps I can push my units into and quickly start taking their land. Not only that, but because they don't have the equipment to immediately train fresh divisions, and I do, in a few days' time, I will be able to get 7 of these panzer divisions out the door. Divisions they can never stop with this shitty template. They just have, they have the same one, just named differently. They'll never be able to stop them. So this entire civil war is now trivial. Now for focuses, we can't progress along the political tree here yet. We have to finish the civil war first. And it might take more than 70 days, so we're just gonna go with Großbaumwirtschaft, as this opens up a path to align both Romania and Hungary to us. A second note, we could get Austria in now. We can create a faction with them, and then there will be a referendum firing, an event, which has about 90% chance of Austria agreeing to become annexed by us. This is great. I want to try postponing that until after we've puppeted Hungary and Romania, because after you eat Austria, Hungary doesn't want to play anymore. For some reason, there's some historical animosity here, I believe. Could be, maybe. So I first want to try and get the Hungarians and the Romanians in, and then eat the Austrians. But first things first, let's get the civil war going. We also got a nice chunk of political power. Let's get the war economy going. As you can see, they're all walking away, trying to take bits of the Czechoslovak lands, I assume. Boy, are they gonna regret that. Now, fuel could be a bit of an issue, but nothing's really stopping you from going to the US and having a bit of an import. And don't forget, with our supplies being returned to us, that also means our fighters are back, and we can establish air superiority over these guys. And as soon as you can deploy these divisions, just force them out the door. Yes, they will be green, but they'll still be a lot more powerful than anything the Nazis can muster. Done, start aligning Hungary. Now, with a little bit of decent micro, you could end this war a lot quicker, but I've played through this like half a dozen times already this week, so I'm a little tired of it. I'm just gonna let things run. This will be more than enough to win this, really. And with that, the German military junta is triumphant. The Nazis are defeated. Now, next up, we will try to use Align Hungary and Align Romania to get them to join our faction. We can create a faction to get them into it. After that, we can use Integrate War Economies to vassalize them. And then we'll see if Austria wants to talk about being our puppet. Or rather, being eaten by us. Another thing to note is, you'll see that we're no longer at war with Yugoslavia. Now, why is that? Well, that's because the Nazi government declared war on Yugoslavia, not innocent old August von Mackensen. So, all's good with Yugoslavia, and we're no longer at war. Now, to prevent Hindenburg from blowing up, we want to sharpen air safety regulations. This should prevent the event of the explosion, and we can't have that thing blow up, because if it does, well, that's the end of this run. That means we can't form the HRE. Now, for the Nazi leaders, just hang them. Unless you don't want to. It could be useful at some point later on, maybe, but I prefer just hang them.
2 hours later.
So you'll notice I've completely deleted my army. That is because we are no longer at war, and we won't be at war for quite some time. And more importantly, after we do these focuses, Align Romania, Integrate War Economies. Side note on that, Align Hungary doesn't make them want to join your faction. There is a very large opinion modifier against Hungary wanting to join you. Good news is, you don't need any of the Hungarian land. So if they join you, great, they won't join me, so I'm just going to ignore them. I will align Romania, integrate the war economies, and then go down this path towards Return of the Kaiser. By the time Return of the Kaiser finishes, we would have to get rid of our military anyway, because we want the Netherlands to say no to the return of Wilhelm II. And the only way they will do that is if they know they are significantly stronger than Germany. And we need Wilhelm II to not come back to be able to continue on our path towards restoration of the Holy Roman Empire. So we are going armyless for the time being. I will create a faction here, the Central Powers, and get Austria in. This should set them on the path to the event for annexation.
12 seconds later.
And sometime after getting Austria in your faction, you will get this event. The Austrian pro-German sentiment soars. Two options. Yes, the lesser German solution was a mistake. This will cause Austria to have a referendum event with a 90% chance of being annexed by you, or we could outright refuse. I don't know why you would pick this. It's obviously the worst option. And there we go. The Austrian people vote for unification. Now with the alignment focuses done, you'll see that we can't integrate war economies yet. We'll revisit this at some later point when Romania is willing to join us. Set for secure the new state.
3 weeks later.
There we go. Now the Romanians are willing to talk business. And with the Romanians in our faction, that means after Revive the Kaiserreich, we still have to wait until we get 40% support for the Militärregierung. In that time, we could just integrate war economies and turn Romania into our puppet. So we only have 66 army experience to work with, meaning I can't completely finish the template, but you'll see where this is going. Try to aim for 12, maybe even 13 medium tanks, and filling up the rest with motorized infantry, and later on, if industry allows it, even consider switching those out for mechanized infantry for even more hardness. This division should have a very good breakthrough stat, as well as good soft and hard attack. These are the units that will be punching through front lines. So all that's left to do is to swap out these last 3 light tanks. We can do that later on once we get more army experience. Now, while we're changing divisions, let's have a look at the infantry division as well. This is a decent division, 18 combat width. So if we just throw on another infantry division, that's a decent 20 combat width defensive infantry division. Infantry's main purpose in this game is to defend anyway. Adding on artillery only reduces their defense stats and makes them more expensive to produce and maintain. So I prefer to just use straight up infantry blocks like this and use my armor to do actual offensives and encirclements, while the infantry just holds a line and plugs gaps. So this is what I'll be using in this playthrough. There we go. Return of the Kaiser is done, and because we have no military, the Netherlands prevent the return of the Kaiser. Perhaps they have a point. We have other candidates, which gives us Wilhelm III, another step closer to our Holy Roman Empire. With Wilhelm now on the throne, we're gonna sit on our ass while we build up our military once more, and we can go through some of these political decisions here. First, we will need to reinstate Prince Wilhelm's right of succession. Focuses. Well, we're going to refrain from things like a siege to the Eastern Front. These things add world tension. We're going to work instead on rebuilding the nation. From this point forward, until we have Empress Victoria on the throne, we are going to refrain from generating any more world tension. Now, speaking of getting our new army out there, we're going to train a few of these tank divisions. We're out of tanks for now. We'll build more quickly enough. 5 army experience in the bag. Create a new empty template. Just slap 1 infantry division in there, and it's good. And train a good number of these. We're going to be pumping these out. Just force deploy them when they're ready. And as they roll off the production line, we can start creating actual divisions from these. Just assign them to an army and turn them into the proper infantry division. This one. There we go. Set them on whatever front line you like and exercise.
1 eternity later.
And we're ready for the first decision to reinstate Prince Wilhelm's right of succession. Next step, modernize the succession laws. Another 150 political power. Now, as you may have noticed, I used up a little bit of political power before I got to this point. In your game, it might be in your interest to actually wait a little bit and save up that power so you can power through these decisions. I didn't do that. That's on me. I need the time to rebuild the military anyway. Now, as I said earlier, not to generate additional world tension. This is the one exception. We need to do this focus. There's no way around it. This one leads to an alliance with the Shade, and we have to get this focus. And after expatriate to communists, keep heading down towards an alliance with the Shade. This is the one we're after. As you can see, I am mustering forces around Italy. We need quite a bit of Italian territory to form the Holy Roman Empire. This is where we'll be stacking our tanks, and tanks suck up supply like crazy. Speaking of our tanks, we're going to concentrate them on the port of Nice and push into Italy along the coastline here, all the way across the peninsula, and try and cut the country in half. Then rush our tanks down. What is a good place to try yourself a bit of a naval invasion is the southern tip here, Sicily. Italy tends to fall back to the island, and the quicker you can capture it, the less hassle you'll have with this straight crossing here. It's a nightmare getting across. We can now modernize the succession laws.
3 days later.
There we go. We have finished an alliance with the Shade, and the United Kingdom will now accept us into the Allies. Now, the next part for reforming the Holy Roman Empire is to finish this focus. Request restoration of British titles. So we need another 150 political power. We're close to that, but we also need British opinion of us to be plus 100. Quite a bit off here. You can see we have a very big negative for generated world tension. This is the reason why we don't want to generate too much world tension, because otherwise the British won't ever reach 100 positive opinion of us. It's already quite close, so we'll just start boosting relations. As for focuses, basically up to you. I like to get some of these industry ones done. We're quite close to that 100 opinion. I don't think we'll reach it with just improving relations. Fortunately, we can also guarantee their independence for quite a bump. There we go, 100, and that should be enough to finish the decision. Here we go, the restoration of British titles. Taking the decision will pop up this event. Here you will make a choice whether or not you will receive the Empress Victoria. Naturally, we want her as our head of state, and as such, we will send her ahead as a liaison.
A few moments later.
And this is why we don't want Victoria to travel with the rest of the family. The Hindenburg has blown up a little later than usual, killing the entire royal family except for Victoria, Kaiserin of the people. She has some very good stats, plus she gives us access to this decision to revive the Holy Roman Empire, and we need quite a bit of land, starting with the Italian provinces. Two ways about this: either we justify on them and wait for our war goal to appear that way, or when Italy eventually goes to war with Greece, we can simply guarantee Greece's independence, Italy will declare war, and that'll be that. We can just walk in that way.
Eventually.
Everything went according to plan. Italy has declared war on Greece. Okay. And we have a call to arms from Greece calling us into this war. So we're just going to accept this call to arms, kick Italy's ass. The Italian war shouldn't pose much of a problem, as Italy will have moved a large portion of its army to the Greek border here. And you can see the Italian presence on their border with us is minimal at best. So we're immediately going to exploit this. There we go, we've knocked Italy out. Please ignore the horrible micro there. I was a bit distracted with things around the house. But nonetheless, we've managed to take out Italy with minimal casualties. And because the UK is not involved in this, we can just take whatever we like, really. These provinces are the ones required, so it's absolutely vital we take these first. I very much like to puppet Italy, given the opportunity. But there we go, war concluded. And our good friend, let's see, Victor Emmanuel III is back in charge in Italy. We have the provinces we need. We now also have the Italian fleet under our control. Let's have a look at the requirements for the HRE. We still need Luxembourg, we need the Swiss states, and the Dutch and Belgian states. We can handle that very easily. Before we can conquer any of these lands that we still require, we'll need a lot more political power. So let's work on getting a nice stockpile of political power while we expand the military further. And through the power of the legendary Order 66, we'll be able to contain those wars very quickly. However, to successfully pull that off, we'll need a lot more troops.
3 weeks later.
We have a nice supply of political power. Now it's time to start making preparations to take the rest of the continent. Start out by leaving the Allies and immediately ask for military access from the United Kingdom. As for the British Raj, it will be best if some troops are deployed in the area. And with the UK having so graciously allowed us access to their country, we're simply going to garrison the south of Britain. Now with all these German divisions in the south of England, we will have no difficulties whatsoever establishing a foothold. Our navy will be more than sufficient to secure the channel for us, making supply a non-issue. We will quickly overrun the Low Countries, send our armored divisions across the channel, and then quickly knock out the UK. Now this is 1940 and it's very likely that by this time the Raj will be a major and will have to be knocked out as well. For that, we can use our position in Vietnam as a staging ground to start pushing them out from here. And let's not forget French India here as well. So start by justifying a war goal on the Belgians. Let's justify a war goal on the Dutch as well. Cancel the justification on the Belgians and justify on the Belgians. Again, this will make our 2 war goals complete simultaneously, and we can roll this into one big war. Once we have these completed, we'll finish up with Luxembourg and Switzerland. Ideally, we will have knocked out the Allies faction by that point, but if the United States have joined this war, it's going to be a little bit more protracted, but that's okay. By that time, we will have secured the United Kingdom and continental Europe, and good luck America invading Europe at that point. We can always take the fight to them at a later point, if you so choose.
1 eternity later.
And our justifications are complete. It's time for the next stage in this global conflict to kick off. And let's declare this war. See where we end up, right? Let's also not call in our allies. We can do so at a later date, but this would keep our puppets out and our faction members securing those flanks and keeping attacks from that side at bay. Let's not forget that we also need to eat Luxembourg. Let's justify a war goal. Yeah, 135 days. And the Swiss. Let's conquer them as well. 195 days. Yeah, sure. And that knocks out the last resistance, or rather the last allied country on the continent. It's a matter of mopping up this pocket and sending as many reinforcements as possible to deal with the Raj. I believe my armor would be well suited to the task. And that's the Swiss out of commission. We have the entirety, well, the bits of continental Europe that matter under our control. Let's go to our decisions. Let's have a look here. There we go. Revive the Holy Roman Empire. All that territory that we just conquered will become core German territory. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Holy Roman Empire. Now I'm going to end this video here on the high note. We have reformed the Holy Roman Empire. It's December of 1941. The world's in chaos and we're having a ton of fun. If you'd like to see me continue this playthrough, leave a like in the video. Maybe tell me in the comments what you want to see next, if not that. If you disliked the video, tell me what you disliked about it. Hit me up in the comments, always looking for some feedback. Press that dislike button. And if you want to see more content like this on a regular schedule, consider subscribing to my channel. I love you guys. We have just hit 1,000 subscribers, so I'm gonna work on something big as a big thank you to you guys. It has been me, Bitter Steel. Goodbye.